So about the project, shortly, the project overall aim has been to improve interaction and cooperation between local authorities, civil society and business actors and other small local actors that are relevant for the topic that has been in the transition arena. So we have had different kinds of sustainability topics in our transition arenas that we implemented. All topics are relevant from the smaller actor point of view, from the civil society actors view. So we didn't aim to change the whole energy systems, for example, with this project, but looking more into those topics where smaller actors can also influence and be and can have a significant role also in making sustainability transitions at the local level. So we adapted and piloted this transition arena method. We utilized the method and it's a process. One of the key part of the project is a series of workshops, but it also needs preparation. So it's not only organizing workshops, but it needs also preparation and then ensuring also the implementation of the results, what come out from the process. And also the project aim has been to improve awareness of the role of these smaller actors. I call them grassroots actors. What is their role and value in social innovations and sustainability transition? And here are the topics where we have focused on. Mainly these topics has been in our transition arenas: biodiversity, sustainable food, circular and sharing economy, sustainable lifestyle and social sustainability. And in the project has been 11 partners and still are from 6 countries. This project is financed from the Interreg Baltic Sea Region program. So all the partners are from the Baltic Sea region countries: Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Poland, Germany, and Norway. And there are regional authorities, NGOs and one university, Bremen University, and also one city of Gdynia. But I think the key issue has been that all partners have cooperated closely with a municipality or a city in their countries. So all these transition arenas have been closely implemented closely in cooperation with cities and municipalities, and these are listed here. So these cities, like for example, city of Tampere didn't have budget in this project, but they have been very much involved in the cooperation. And so all these cities that are mentioned here, except of course the city of Gdynia, which is one of the partners of the actual project, but other cities and municipalities, they are just cooperating partners. And we already during the preparation of the project, we discussed and agreed about this cooperation with them. And the main motivation for them to be involved has been that they have really benefited from this project. These cities and municipalities, they have learned about the method and this approach, how to enhance inclusive processes, how to do it. So it has been a very great learning process for all the cities and municipalities, and also for us as partners. And I would say that we have done this quite much learning by doing, and learned a lot during the process. And how we have implemented this, we have in the beginning of the project we made joint guidelines how to utilize the transition arena method in our project. So there are different. You can see that different topics in these transition arenas have been, and they have mainly become from the local needs, from discussions with the cities, municipalities, maybe with discussions with some civil society actors, like what kind of needs they have, in what topic they would like to improve the cooperation between local authorities and local actors. So that's how these topics came out, already crystallized. So we didn't predefine these topics, but they came from these discussion processes. And this is the process, how we utilize the transition arena method. So in the very beginning, we made this system and actor analysis, the preparation work for transition arena using this method, local or focus group discussion method in these municipalities and cities where we implemented the arenas. And based on these focus group discussions, we selected topics and framed the challenges for the workshop process. And also we had this extra element. This third step was this co-creation of a joint sustainability vision with about 30 change agents from 6 countries. So we also had this activity in the project that we selected, all partners selected transformative thinkers, the change agents from their countries, and they were representing civil society, research sector, also public sector, local authorities. So these people who want to who have skills to have transformative thinking and want to enhance sustainability. So with them we made this joint sustainability vision, which is also one of the publications of the project you can find on our website. And this gave us inspiration, this joint visioning, transnational visioning, and we utilize it also when preparing these local workshops, local transition arena workshops in all these 12 locations. Then we also made evaluation. We had questionnaires and also interviews. Some selected participants were interviewed after these workshops. And then we are also supporting the implementation of the results during this year, especially in each of these locations. So supporting the implementation and initiating the transition. And here are the key elements of the process of how we implement it. So just a bit more about these focus group discussions that we organized in the beginning. So we had different topics there. In one location, there were maybe two or three focus group discussions on different topics. And that's how we kind of started to define on what topic to focus especially. And just as an example that we had in Tampere, for example, in these focus group discussions, we had one of them was on biodiversity, one of them on sustainable consumption, one of them was on sustainable work and entrepreneurship. And then in the end, we decided that we will organize this workshop process on have a very wide wide topic, like kind of connect all these sustainability topics into, and we organized arena of sustainable life, where we included also very widely this sustainable lifestyle, biodiversity also, and those, and we kind of found connections between these different topics. So sometimes it's good to have also wider topics in these, and sometimes you can also focus on very narrow topics. So that was a way to get more common understanding, better common understanding on the topic and the role of different actors, and also focus group discussions was a way to reach the key stakeholders related to some sustainability topic. And that's how and they also then maybe provided some ideas who we should invite others to the workshop processes and so on. So that's what's kind of stakeholder analysis that we made in a very light way. And this provided basis for defining the challenges and planning the arena workshops. And then the actual arena workshops, they were 3 main workshops. So we tried to make it as easy as possible, and we cut down the amount of workshops into quite minimum. So first workshop was definitely a visioning workshop in all our transition arenas, and then we had like a pathway workshop, and then in the end solutions and actions workshops where we created action plans. And in We Make Transition projects, and especially when working with these local small actors, it was very important not to avoid complexity, and also very important for them was to move quite fast to concrete actions, because people are really want to start to do things so on local level. So that's also something we put effort on this going to the concrete actions. And as a result, we got various results, initiatives, maybe new ideas, new cooperation models, key messages to the decision makers, and so on. And then we established working groups to support the implementation of the results. And here is the one slide, one diagram from the results of our evaluation. So in this, when organizing these 3 workshops, or sometimes there were 4, it also varied. Sometimes there were 4 workshops, sometimes 2 workshops. It was not exactly 3 in all of them, but all followed the same structure. So we had a questionnaire that was sent to all participants before the workshops, and then after the workshops. And this is a general result related to how they felt that the cooperation between public administration and civil society improved all the way. So these results are quite convincing that people felt that it really strengthened the cooperation, and especially people felt that this enabled the discussing of a longer term vision, and this is the added value of the transition arena method really, and then that it enabled real co-creation, not only involving, but the real co-creation between these different stakeholders. And also listening to the views of civil society actors in a more kind of direct ways during the arenas. And then the level of trust. This is also something that we felt. We felt that in these arenas the people got more trust, and also the positive thinking towards future also maybe strengthened, and people were more like action-oriented when after participating in these arenas. So the level of trust improved also. And key learnings that I would crystallize in the end. And this is especially from the VMake transition project point of view, the key learnings. So it was very important to avoid complexity and difficult language because we involved very different kind of participants related to the topic. Maybe in some cases there were just individuals, local residents participating, and representatives of NGOs, communities, small businesses, and so on. So people with very different educational backgrounds. So it was important to make it easy for them and to keep it low threshold. That's also is a point that you cannot use a lot of their time. So and they need quick results. So that's why it was important to focus on listening to the participants, their ideas, and co-create together with them something very concrete, and then start to act with them. Of course, this systemic understanding also improved during the arenas because as there are people from different having different views and coming from different levels, when they talk to each other and provide their different views to the topic, then you understand better and you have a more comprehensive understanding of the whole topic. And then also important was to avoid political terms and any political debates during the transition arena and to keep the arena politically neutral. And in some cases there were decision makers involved, but the recommendations is that then if you involve decision makers, not involve them only from one political party or two political parties, but try to involve from many political parties to keep it very politically neutral. And the role of politicians in the transition arena was to listen and then say how they will, what are their takeaways for them from the transition arenas to take into the decision making. So not to make any political speeches during the transition arenas. And also the strong involvement and commitment of local authorities was very important in our case. And then you have to understand that there cannot be any predefined strategies or visions that are brought to the arena, but these are co-created during the arenas. Of course, the results can then influence to the local strategies and plans, as we have had in this project, that then they have had influence to the strategies, but we didn't bring them to the table. So not any top-down strategies or messages, but the participants created them, and then the results were used in the strategies. Also, no predefined results. It is you don't know exactly what kind of results come out from the process, so you have to trust the process and then be open to the results. And then it is important to support the implementation of results and welcome also new people on board, so that it will not be just a closed group of people and the results stay in the closed group of people, but be open for new people to join into movement. And the added value was definitely empowering people, empowering new cooperation. The key was to invite people from different levels, and also new people could join. Also during the workshop process, there were new people joining, and that was not a problem. So, for example, and we always then presented the results of the earlier workshop in the beginning of the next workshop, so that people could follow and join to the discussion, and people could always make their comments to the process. And also, in some cases, there was external experts used also as facilitators, but I would say that it's more was a supportive role, so that it's not, the whole process is not just organized by an external expert, but they more like had a supportive role, and there was like the planning team of these transition arenas consisted of partners of these local authorities, and then there were some change agents, stakeholders involved in the planning, so that it was not some external expert that just planned and organized everything, but if there was an external expert, they just provided support for facilitation and so on. And then there were also external speakers utilized, maybe in some cases, to get better understanding of the, if there was, for example, sustainable food as a topic, so that people could a little bit get understanding of the whole food system, what kind of factors are influencing to that in my country, and so on. So sometimes external speakers were also very good value, and real co-creation instead of only involving, and then elements of the method can be integrated in planning and strategy processes. Yes, and here are some pictures from different transition arenas, and very happy people usually there were, and that was I think the key point. And here's a picture of the manual that we are preparing at the moment, and at this stage I would like to say that there is a first draft of this manual is ready, and we will provide a link to you and also to other stakeholders, that you can have a look, and you can still provide your comments to the draft manual, or you can just provide some feedback at this stage that we can still utilize when we are finalizing this manual. And this manual includes all these transition arena stories also. And then we have a project website, which is here. Please have a look. There are good articles about our project stages. And I say thank you. Do you have any questions? Yes, Martti.
Just a short comment, perhaps. Hello, Martin, one of the partners. I just want to say before we go to these presentations that one of the common themes, I think, that was with all of our processes was, I think, a huge flexibility to make sure that what we are doing makes sense in the context that we are in. And I think all of these 3 projects that we are now describing will kind of show this, how we really changed the way we did the process in order to make sure that it makes sense in that context. So I think flexibility is kind of the common theme between all of the things that we did. And I think it was very, I don't know what the word is, liberating to be able to do this. As in many projects, you don't have that kind of freedom because you're kind of set from the beginning on how you are supposed to do it. And we took a different approach, and I think it worked.
Great. Thanks, Martin. Very good comment. So, Henna, you can start your presentation.
So, my name is Henna Salminen, and I will be presenting the transition arena we held in Uusikaupunki, Finland, which is a small-ish Finnish municipality with around 15,000 inhabitants. They call themselves a city, even though it's 15,000 inhabitants. So if I do refer to a city, just keep in mind that it's more like a town. Yeah. I'll keep it brief, and then there's time for questions. There will be a lot of specific details to tell you about this, but we won't be going to those. Our topic was the co-creation for biodiversity in nearby nature. This one was chosen because we wanted to discuss biodiversity loss, but with a bit easier and approachable framing. Of course, we need a framing that's close to the participants. So we, for example, chose to not go into the forest discussion, but more to talk about the nearby nature that is close to everyone and familiar to everyone. And also where the city or municipal organization can have an effect that they govern. The municipality also needed volunteer work for their environmental work to complement theirs because of their lack of resources in this work. And in the actor mapping process, we recognized that there are local gardening enthusiasts. So there was this basis, this sort of social basis of people who could easily be empowered in this, even though they weren't yet actively doing biodiversity work. We had another topic as well in the beginning in the focus group discussions, but this one proved to be better for the transition arena process. The challenges we recognized in the cooperation for biodiversity, we mostly focused on the cooperation part. And there, the recognized challenges were that there were no strong local civil actors who would focus specifically on biodiversity. There were people who were interested in gardening, and there was a local nature association, but their work wasn't really about making an active transition. Then there was this general question of how do people participate nowadays? There's a big debate or not a debate, discussion in Finland about the general decline in civil society activity, or at least it changed. And in Uusikaupunki, we recognized that there were limited possibilities to participate briefly in a pop-up sort of way. I'll participate now, but I don't want to commit for a longer process. And that was seen as a challenge. We also found, or the focus group discussions thought, that the residents often lack knowledge of biodiversity, that the topic is not that known. And then the scarce municipal resources, that they didn't really have a lot of personnel or time to dig that deep into the topic. And then there's been this local feeling about polarization around any kind of sustainability topics. That's at least what our frontrunners in the focus groups said, that it's often difficult for them to bring up these topics as they feel it. They feel that it's heavy socially. And then biodiversity side, we talked a lot about connectedness on private yards, especially because that was seen as or that had previously been found in a study that's a local sort of lack, that there's lack of connectedness. And then there are these locally special plants also important to Uusikaupunki. And there's a picture from the focus group interview. Who participated in our transition arena process? The key word is small and local. So we had associations, small entrepreneurs with a lot of drive, that was really good. And then also residents. A couple of the residents were people who had previously worked for the municipality or were actually working for another neighboring municipality on the topic of environmental work and biodiversity. So there was a lot of expertise present, even though there were also just individual residents who were interested. And we had really good commitment from the municipal officials who we organized the arena with. And that's been an important success factor. Well, what came out? We managed to establish a collaboration model that we call Biodiversity Circle. It's modeled after the RECO circles that focus on local food. And the idea is that it's a low organization, local collaboration. And what all happens within the Biodiversity Circle collaboration? Currently, within the project, we have 3 sustainability experiments. First of them is this biodiversity coffee break event that has taken place twice now. It's easy to approach place for learning new things about biodiversity and encountering other people interested in the topic. Then another thing we've done after the workshop is yard signs for private yards. I actually have one with me here, if you can see it. This is, we've dealt this free of charge to the residents in Uusikaupunki, so that anyone who enhances biodiversity in their own yard can put this on their yard to let their neighbors and other people who pass by know that they are doing things for biodiversity in their yard. This is because they felt that often if you don't have a nicely cut lawn and this traditional sort of garden, people would think you're lazy and that you're not doing your job. But this is to encourage them to do it more, as they can inform others about it. And third, there is a vacant lot in the city center of Uusikaupunki that is owned by a private person or private people. But they are looking into making it a sort of a, maybe not a meadow, but like a biodiversity hotspot or learning spot in the city center. So the interesting thing is that it's vacant, and it's cooperation between the municipality, the volunteers, and the private owner. And currently they're just doing nature work there to see what all plants are there. There might be the local special plants might come up as the spring comes, and we don't really know how that goes. But yeah. And then of course holding all this together, and just as it said in the transition arena method, or at least our guidelines for the method in the project, the network will be holding all this together. And it's a way for everyone to join. And the biodiversity circle, it has a Facebook group, which sounds a bit old, but it's a really good way to gather people. And we already, I think we have almost 100 participants there, which I think is a lot for a town of 15,000 inhabitants. What is the added value beyond the immediate results? Our main contact point from the municipality of Uusikaupunki said that they now have a structure that can last for the biodiversity work and the biodiversity cooperation. So it really helps that the biodiversity circle and the experiments that happen under it, and also the transition agenda that brings all the ideas together and can help people to get on track of what we're doing and why we're doing and how are these ideas intertwined. They are now ready for them to use and improve, so it's all set up, and the municipality seems really happy with their structure. Yes. And another point on the added value is empowerment with a question mark. Because of course we can't know the very personal feeling of everyone who's participated, since we haven't had the chance to go through and interview everyone. But it seems that people really enjoy their time together, and I have time together around this process, and I have chosen some citations for you that I'll be reading. So first from a workshop participant who said that, "I hadn't realized there are this many people who think this is important. I thought I was the only one. What a relieving and empowering understanding." Then from another participant in the workshop process, and this was a month ago, so long after the workshops, while we're doing the experiments. "It's been great to see the actions taken after the workshops. I'm so proud. Elsewhere there's only the talk. Here in Uusikaupunki, people actually do things. And for the doing, I must now also thank my colleague Celia, who couldn't make it today, since she's been coordinating the new transition team that started their work after the workshops to coordinate the experiments and the network. And without Celia's determination in starting the network, I don't think this comment would have, we would have this citation, because then there would not have been that much action. Then, from a municipal official, next we could gather entrepreneurs to create more business around biodiversity. So they're already thinking, what else can they do, and how can this increase the livelihoods in the city as well? And then from a completely new person to me, who came to the biodiversity coffee break event last time, they said that I will be suggesting this biodiversity improvement to my housing company. So it's spreading, and people are getting more courage to take the message forward. I'm really happy with this process, and what I think has been the sort of secrets that why it's good are here. We had fun. We had a couple of participants who told a lot of jokes, and we let people laugh at them, and they found that it's a nice place to come to the workshops and the biodiversity coffee breaks as well. Then there's been good commitment from the organizers, from the municipality, from the first transition team, and from the second transition team, and all the participants. Time has been really important for us. We could not have made this in a year, because a lot of things need time to progress, especially when it's in many ways it's about voluntary action that sort of varies according to season and how busy people are in their lives. So it's good that there's this element of permanent things going on during a long time period. Then there's the coordination that I already mentioned, and also I think we've had some luck. Even if you had all these pieces together and you did a good background research, I think you also need some luck for a process like this to come together. That's about it. Thank you. Feel free to contact me on the email address given, and I will be happy to reply if there are any questions.
How are the art signs working?
People have been happy to take them, and we've seen a couple of pictures where they have been put up. And the Uusikaupunki is also a big cottage municipality, so a lot of summer residents go there and they tour around the center, which I also recommend if you're looking for a small city to visit with historical buildings. It has a really nice wooden house center, and tourists and the cottage residents will be touring around there. So we're waiting for them to see the signs, sort of start to wonder, why is this happening? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And maybe we could also contact some of the cottage residents or the summer residents to spread the word to them as well.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And I think it has been very important that the municipality has been so much involved in this transition arena. So it's not only that some local people start to gather around and do something for biodiversity, but they need kind of this that there is also that this is it is a common goal for everyone, also for the local municipality, and the municipality can benefit from this cooperation with them.
That's true. So, and I can't speak on behalf of anyone, but I think I've seen happy faces within the municipal officials when they've had the chance to meet the civil society actors who are enthusiastic about it, and they're doing the same thing. So they're sort of getting empowered by the civil actors as well, and getting sort of peer support from them in a more relaxed setting than what they probably have used to before.
Yes. Thank you, Henna. And then I guess it's again me who has a presentation about this Tampere Arena. So maybe we move to that now. So briefly about Tampere Future Arena of Sustainable Life, and we have combined many things, but then noticed that we wanted to combine them because there are interlinkages between these different sustainability topics, and then we kind of, with this wide topic, sustainable life, we could also connect people enthusiastic people in a new way. So those kind of so-called nature people, and then those who are more working with circular economy and maybe second-hand and repair activities. So we connected new people together, and then there was kind of new cooperation came out from this process with the wide topic. It was a good experiment. So shortly we had kind of 4 workshops in this arena. We tested with residents, like separately we had only for ordinary residents. Like anyone could join this. We had this visioning of good and sustainable life workshop with. It was kind of evening workshop with. It lasted 2 hours. 2 hours, very light discussion and utilizing very light methods to visionize, to make visions for a sustainable future, and listen to the views from the residents, like what kind of issues they think are very important in the sustainable future. So for example, in Tampere, for Tampere residents, nature is like everything, and everyone is saying that nature should be everywhere, and people need this nearby nature. It's very important for the inhabitants, and also these residents were talking about the future of also the young people and their future, and how to make better sustainable future for them, and how to listen. We should listen also the young generation and that kind of issues. And also the community building, that we are living in very individualistic culture, and we should have more community building and so on. So this kind of thoughts from the residents were then summarized, and we utilized them as a kind of as an inspiration or background information in the actual visioning workshop, which then had more stakeholders. There were also maybe few residents participated in this bigger visioning workshop, but there were a bigger group of people, NGOs, like over 10 city representatives from different departments, also local decision makers from different political parties, the youth council, students, individual students, cooperatives, small business actors, and so on. So this was quite big, this visioning workshop. And then it also had, in the visioning workshop, we had some good case presentations from the civil society actors that are doing already successful work in Tampere. So these case presentations also gave inspiration of what's actually at the moment going on the grassroots level when talking about sustainability and enhancing ecological and social sustainability. And this was very important information for the decision makers. They were really happy to hear about these small cases, these very nice cases from the grassroots level that they don't usually hear or it's not discussed so much on the top level when making decisions. And then, we created a joint vision for a sustainable life in Tampere, and then we had pathway workshop and solution workshop. And then in the end, also after this workshop process, we had a result event with about 40 participants, and that's where many of the participants, actually in our transition arena process, we created 4 working groups around 4 topics that were then discussed during the transition arena, and these representatives of these working groups made presentations of the results, and then there was a discussion how we are going to bring them further, and city people were there, and we were talking about linkages to strategies. There were also decision makers again in this result event, making their commentaries for the result, results and how what they find interesting, and maybe they mentioned also something that they will then bring to the decision-making processes, or at least to the discussions within their political parties, and so on. So that kind of process we had, and it was very empowering. And I think the key point in this Tampere case was to really engage various different stakeholders together, and really listen to the views and ideas of local actors, and also the innovations that the local actors have. And this is just to describe a bit more what we used in the visioning workshop, this future triangle tool. So just briefly, I would like to say that the participants in the vision workshop were divided in small groups. There were several small groups, as there were 60 participants, so it was even seven small groups. And because we had this topic, sustainable life, this very wide, we didn't want to define the more detailed topics for the participants. We knew a bit, because beforehand we had these focus group discussions. We knew a bit like what kind of challenges there are, what kind of topics are relevant in Tampere. But so we gave all these topics that we thought and found out that are relevant in the case of Tampere when talking about sustainable life. And the groups themselves could choose what topics they want to focus on. And that worked very well, and so that they were. We didn't define anything for them, but we gave them kind of background information and inspiration with all these case presentations and with the background work we had done. So the key point in visioning is to think what kind of factors are influencing to the more sustainable future, and important is also to think about the weight of the past, the structures and systemic challenges that are on the way for change. So that's briefly about the future triangle. We created then, based on these group works, we crystallized this Tampere vision of sustainable life. It's a lot about community building and that different voices should be heard more, and we should value more the multi-layered culture. And also it was in the vision said that Tampere is a center of sustainable business and active civil society. Sustainable mobility and biodiversity are the key elements of living. So this was very important to just have this summarized. What is the view of the local actors, and the decision makers were involved in the discussions. And there was one artist also participating in our workshop, so he made this nice picture of the vision. I'm not explaining more, but it's actually describes then one of the results that came out from the arena. So this is a center of sustainable life, which is one of our results. The topics that we finally discussed and how people were divided. I mentioned that there were 4 working groups, so they were mainly these focus topics around what the working groups were created. So use of urban space was one of the topics. Interaction and participation, and especially civic participation into urban planning. Visibility of second-hand and repair services in our cities. So there were some second-hand and repair service actors that have small business in that field. They were participating in this, and they were talking about that we need to strengthen the visibility together of these and get also more cities support for this. And also the biodiversity was one topic, and similar issues were discussed. What Henna just presented, and actually a result from this topic was a network of voluntary-based biodiversity ambassadors, or at least the idea to create such a network. So similar as what Henna said, that they had this biodiversity circle that was formed after the transition arena. So the results were, and that we are at the moment supporting the implementation of these results. So there was one of them, or the key result is a Center of Sustainable Life, a new cooperation model between local actors and the city. So, or at least it's a new model in Tampere, because we didn't have that kind of cooperation model before, where city is making agreement with the local actors to use empty space and organize actions that enhance sustainable life and also biodiversity. And then there was also this a network of biodiversity ambassadors that we are now trying to organize, and then this strengthening the visibility of second-hand and repair services, and then recommendations for the city on how to improve the civic participation in urban planning, especially the early phase urban planning. And this, for example, was very much interesting for the decision makers, because they saw and they were saying that there are Tampere is growing quite fast, and many times there are conflicts when people are trying to give their voice to the planning process, but many times it's too late, and there is not enough interaction between the city and the inhabitants, especially when it comes to the nature and biodiversity issues and keeping the nearby nature. So and here just there is not time enough to explain this sustainable center more, but here is a picture of the sustainable or Center of Sustainable Life that is now this year being implemented in very close cooperation with the city. So these pictures, some of these pictures are from last year, because there were those pictures where you can see the urban planning, gardening in the boxes that are provided for citizens. That kind of activities has been already last year happening, and now the city liked so much about these actions that they wanted to support these activities more, and they provide this space for the local actors, and also there will be much more activities and events happening in this center, and also there will be second-hand days and all kinds of exhibitions and so on in this place. And it's also city is using this space more for their purposes. So thank you. This was the Tampere case. Do you have any questions?
I have a question. Sorry, I was hiding.
Yes.
I have a bad hair day. The third result with the strengthening the visibility for repair shops and those services, how did that look in practice, or like how, ideas, or how it should look in practice?
Yes. So in Tampere, these actors, there is actually quite a lot of actors that are having second-hand shops, repair services, or any related things, but they are quite spread around. And so this arena gave, because there were many of them participating in the arena, so this gave more possibilities for them to cooperate. And actually, they have recently established an association together. So in the name of this association, they were involved in the transition arena. And this is not so much the city so far has not been supporting the visibility of these actors, but we started the discussion with the project helped them to find the right city people to start the discussion, like how this could be more strategically supported. And for example, we have this Visit Tampere organization that is doing marketing for tourists and visitors. So there was a discussion with them also, and they like little by little started to do more in their or they are starting to do more in their marketing to bring up these secondhand and repair services for the visitors and so on. So it's kind of, there are many discussions started, and then also they actually got empowered, this group of actors, when discussing and talking that we really need to do something for better visibility. So they actually started how to say crowdfunding campaign, where they collected a little bit money for making a map of all these, so locate these actors on the map. So it's kind of little by little, many different steps are taking forward. So
great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I don't know if we have time for this, but I have a question. You mentioned one topic that is kind of dear to my heart, and it's a very technical one, city planning. I felt like even
it's also close to my heart.
I feel like even when local authorities try to get people involved with this, even if the communication is good, even if it's early, then once you get into it as a regular citizen, it becomes highly technical and complex. Like you have these very technical schemes and very technical information about what is what and how you can say something. And as a citizen, even when I get involved, I don't know what to do and how to do it. I don't have the competences to actually be involved, even when I want to. So did you do you have ideas about that? Like how to not only get people in it, but also get them to be able to do something there?
Yes, we opened a more direct discussion on all these challenges, what there are, that it's very complex for the people, and actually the city should do also some things to. City should be also more active in encouraging people to and helping people to provide their views and take part in the discussion. So we started this discussion but especially we were talking about this in the case when there are some important parks or nature areas that the people are really fond of. There might be even one tree that is very important for people, and sometimes it's just a very small thing, but when it's not early enough, there is no information that this is so important for the people, then it's not included in the plan. So especially in these cases that there should be, where there are especially in case of the nature, then you should hear more about the views of people, and you can do these plans in there's not only one way to do the urban planning, but you can kind of fit into based on the comments that you get from the people. But yeah, of course it's difficult for people, but then those that really want to say something, at least there should be some kind of, we are discussing about that maybe some interactive events more, like Tampere, for Tampere people, some interactive events where they could just generally talk about where our city should be going or what is important for the people and so on. So just, more interaction, that kind of things. But yeah, we started the discussion and yes. Then next speaker.
So hello again, nice to meet you all again. My name is Anna or Anna Burhorst, and together with Tina Schneider as the project lead, I'm the team from Germany, Bremen, Germany, and today we would like to present you the case of organic food transition in Bremen schools. It's rather a wishful term, but also a hopeful one. I will explain to you hopefully why. Firstly, I would like to give you some facts and figures on the transition arena that we held last year, a 2-day workshop in June. So it's almost a 1-year anniversary of our local transition arena. I would like to talk about the challenges, but not the challenges of the facilitation or the arena itself, but rather the topic of food transition in Bremen, the participants and our results and implementation steps, and the added value of the transition arena. Why did we choose the topic of food transition in Bremen? The background is that Bremen, as a city-state, aims to achieve 100% or up to 100% of organic food in public catering by 2025 as part of its action plan on healthy nutrition. So this year actually is the deadline for the action plan, and the initiative addresses health, sustainability, and equitable access to nutritious food for all children in schools, but it's public catering, as I mentioned, so schools is one part of that. We narrowed it down to schools in the process. So it also refers to hospitals, kindergartens, and so on. So the relevance behind the action plan itself is that organic food supports environmental sustainability, but it also improves health outcomes, and in the long term, it strengthens local economies. So just one graphic again for the action plan. So it's a 3-pillar plan that firstly, one part is the introduction of the DGE quality standard. The DGE stands for Deutsche Gesellschaft Ernährung, which just means German Association for Nutrition. So I'm sure you all know the different pyramids, schemes, etc., to show what's recommended for how much amount of meat, how much amount of plants, vegetables, fruits, etc. So it's just kind of criteria given out to introduce a balanced and healthy diet. And the second part, the not most important, but the most prominent part, is to transform public catering up to 100% of organic ingredients. And it's also, of course, a bit intertwined to use regional and seasonal ingredients to have a high quality of public catering. Bremen is both a federal state and a municipality, which makes some things easier, but also some aspects a lot more complicated. And when I prepared for this presentation, I also thought about mentioning that Bremen is also a very poor state. It's Germany has 16 federal states, and Bremen has the highest poverty rate, and sadly also the highest poverty rate amongst children. So yeah, a lot higher than, for example, Hamburg or Berlin as well. So almost a third of the population is at high risk of poverty in Bremen. So it's I think it's also one aspect to keep in mind, not only the financial restrictions that come for public administration, but also at the same time the necessity for healthy food for children in schools. Yes. What are the challenges when it comes to food provision itself as a regulation and a topic itself? It's it was very clear that the quality varies a lot in kitchens, but also for caterers. Children often do not eat enough or lunch at all at home. So there are 3 different forms that schools can provide or food provision. They can either freshly cook, or they can use 2 different types of caterings, which is called cook and chill, and cook and chill, and I'm totally at loss of the third one, but it's 2 different types of catering where you just either have the food ready, or where you still prepare some of the catered food in schools. So it's more differences, but it differs in the amount of nutrition, for example, with the food. So there's also a lot of differentiations between the 2 different types of caterings. But of course, there's also the possibility that cooks have their own schools have their own cooks and can cook at school. There were some surveys that actually asked for the acceptance by parents, but also by pupils, and parents complained a lot about the food, but school pupils as well. So there's not only is it not healthy, it doesn't taste good. So 2 problems at once. When we look at the public administration side of school provision, it's very complicated. It has a lot to do with procurement and contracts between not only the school and the caterers, but also the schools. And if they cook at school, it's also contracts with their cooks, and it's always very short contracts. Many schools mentioned that they had only 1 school year, that there's always 1 year in which they are totally sure how their provision in school will look like. So it's a very, very short-term approach. And of course, if we refer back to the action plan, very few schools have met the goals that are outlined in the action plan. So DGE standard, and also the use of organic food. And if we look at public catering in general, we can see that the schools are very lacking behind. It's mostly accomplished for hospitals, for example. So this is the background itself, and now we have a look at the transition arena that was happening last year. So this is our group. We cannot see that also pupils attended. It was just lunch break photos, so we had a lot of fluctuation. I'm sure you experienced it, or those who also held local transition arenas, that you also had a lot of fluctuation. Some had to leave early, some could only come later in. So yeah, I think in total we had 23 participants. They came from catering organizations, from political parties, teachers, cooks, pupils, students, parents, local farmers and food associations. We had the training kitchen, which is a competence center for sustainable nutrition, Forum Küche called in German. We had the Biostadt Bremen, which is Organic City Bremen, and scientists. And what we're missing were representatives of the School and Education Authority. That's why I introduced the challenges, because in the end, it all circles back to procurement, contracts, and the Education Authority is responsible for those contracts. We really tried to get them on board, but unfortunately, they did not join. But we had, I think overall, very engaged and important stakeholders from very different angles of the topic of nutrition. Yeah, don't get knocked out by this slide. A lot of text, a lot of graphic, but what I wanted to show you, this is a transcript or a transfer from the handwritten poster we had during our transition arena. So we had 3 groups, and they all decided on the overall goal or the end goal in 2040, so our future goal. And then we used the backcasting method, so going from the future backwards to now, and now was 2024. And yeah, just to make it very short, in the end, we did a voting process, and our participants decided to focus more on the first goal, which was free school meals and organic regional seasonal foods for €1 per meal per day. So this is what we later on focused on. So going backwards, we need to start or that's what our participants co-created, was that in order to achieve affordable and healthy food, we need to include parents. They're also a bit side note and monitoring and controlling process, broadband expansions for school kitchens, etc. But what was really important and what was mentioned often was that there needs to be more networking and exchange between kitchens, between businesses, between suppliers, between parents and children, because all of them said, we don't really know how it works. Every school has its own logic, its own difficulties. They all fight for themselves in order to have good school provision, but we don't know how it is for others, or how we could maybe get inspiration, get help, etc. So that was a very, very big wish from our participants. Yeah, and so we focused in the end on this co-created path. And our first step was then to concentrate on the enhanced exchange between stakeholders. And what we did, we organized meetings with different stakeholders to plan this pilot program. We started with several shorter or smaller meetings, but we had one big exchange meeting in November 2024, where around 70 to 75 people came to exchange. We had pupils cook for all the participants, and they were very excited to do so. And we cooperated highly with Training Kitchen, with the Competence Center for Training, Bremen, to provide and teach recipes for organic food and so on. And we had a big meeting and worked on from there, started to foster the cooperation. And in the midst of cooperating more with Forum Kitchen, we started cooperating with the State Institute for Schools Bremen, which is called the LIS. So it's a governmental institution responsible for school development and teacher training in the state of Bremen, which is positive in terms of cooperating with public administration, because it's closely related. It's like, if you know the hierarchy of ministries, etc., this is the education authority, and there's like one pillar going down, which is the State Institute. So regarding power and regulations, it's not our responsible authority in Bremen, but at least they're closely connected and they can speak on another level than we can. So it was positive for us to gain this cooperation, and we did an event together with the list, together with Training Kitchen, Forum Küche, the Verein Sozialökologie, which is an association social ecology, and the EU project School Food for Change. And we did this event yesterday. So we could also, if we have the time, go deeper into that, which was a very, very fruitful event yesterday. Also a lot of cooperation could be going onwards from this meeting yesterday. And we already announced yesterday that that we are planning a school competition in autumn. And introduced how it would go about, and made the first contacts within the ministry to really reach the schools so that they can apply for the school competition. I really liked it yesterday. We had a school class there where they have a very participative approach, where they have like working groups with school children, and they were, I think 7th grade, and they talked about their project themselves, and it was really endearing, and I think the reaction was really, really well from all the participants. So of course, we mentioned that in several presentations today. Networking, collaboration is the impact that we also reached. I would dare to say. new voices came to the table, which was mentioned quite a lot. As Bremen is very small and a city-state, there's always this word of bubble. There's a bubble of nutrition topics in Bremen. I'm working for 2 years in this project, and I already know the faces. I know who's important. So for them, it was really, really nice to get the parents and the school pupils to our meetings. They said it's a perspective they couldn't have gained before. So that was very positive for us. Of course, to enhance the awareness of healthy eating habits. We collaborated now with institutions that are permanent, that they will stay. Unfortunately, our project will, at least in financial terms and personal staff terms, terminate, but we always say that we are trying to hand over now the network, the work to Forumküche, Training Kitchen, and Organic City Bremen, and so on, to the State Institute, so that we have persistence and part of our implementation steps. It was a topic hard to dive into it, but it was a topic that was very challenging and very politically sensitive. There was a very critical backlash from the education authority. They also almost tried to stop our event yesterday because it's running totally counter their political strategy from last year to this year. They are now trying to focus on cook and chill. They try to avoid building new kitchens in schools. If the school needs a new building, they always try to don't acquire buildings that have a kitchen, or if they build it fresh from the start, they aren't planning not to include kitchens. So it's a really sensitive topic, to be honest. So we kind of stepped into a bee's nest, to be honest. Facilitation, of course, time management was a challenge. I'm sure that's the case for most local transition arenas. What was important for us was that we had to reach personal networks or try to directly contact the people, preferably via phone. So emails always fizzled out. They didn't react very well. So the recruitment really took 3 months, I would say, ahead. I felt that the new actors really brought fresh perspectives. The participants felt heard and valued, and there was a process of empowerment. But as Henna said, that's always hard to measure and very individual. At least some of the participants really mentioned that they felt that it was a fresh approach and a new approach to the topic, and that we really need to use this momentum and to make it positively, that we should use the political resistance as an opportunity and form these alliances that are necessary, use the resistance as a mobilizing strategy. And instead of saying, okay, it's not working now, we cannot fight against the education authority, or at least against the political strategy. Of course, the education authority also depends on the political field. We should rather see it as a necessary moment of friction. And overall, we can say that for us, it was possible to reach feasible outcomes from a visionary 2-day workshop, and a strategic and coherent implementation strategy is really needed to not lose momentum in the process. So, thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Great example. So our cases are very different, but I think here very well you can understand that or realize that the workshops at such they are only very small part of the whole process. So you need to do a really big work for the preparation to get really all the right people involved and convince them that this is really needed, and there has to be somebody that takes this somehow that okay, let's do something for this, and then you need also a lot of resources for the implementation, so that it just doesn't happen just like that after the workshops. But that's we have these resources in the project to support the implementation, so that's really important part. Thank you, Anna. If you have any questions on Anna's presentation, please put them to the chat, because now we go to the next presentation in order to keep the time. We are a bit late from the timetable, so Christo will have now 10 minutes presentation, and then we have Derk's comments in the end, and discussion.
Okay, hello. I assume you can all hear me. So hello to all the transition arena enthusiasts and masters here. So I'm going to discuss shortly what we did in Lääne-Harju on the topic of sustainable education. We had a really cool group and in one of the most beautiful locations in Estonia. So it was a privilege to do it, to still work on it. As you can see, there's a lot of nature. So we had a good goal, and we spent a lot of time in the forests and by the seaside in Lääne-Harju to sink it all in. All in all, we had I think 33 participants who participated in 3 different full-day workshops. And these were people from local schools, kindergartens. There were some private sector organization representatives from NGOs, also parents. And as Johanna has mentioned, we also worked closely with the local municipality. But education processes also need to include students. So we also got them on board, which was quite fun because they have their own kind of understanding and different perspectives when compared to, really responsible adults who think in terms of boxes and like things that can be implemented rationally and all that. So actually, we had 4 main problems, or we distilled them down to 4 main issues. And one was that came from statistics. We discovered that the place in Estonia, which is well known for its beautiful nature, actually had quite low youth satisfaction in education when it comes to doing really like active stuff, like moving around, going outside. They didn't feel like they were really satisfied with the kind of the activity part of their education. The environments, learning environments, weren't really thought through that well in terms of accessibility, outdoor learning opportunities. And now that we these are things that they're not that well connected to sustainability, or that's what we thought at first. But it turns out that actually the students' well-being, access to nature, being able to get out of the classroom, those things actually are great motivators for taking part in more sustainable programs, doing things that actually bring us closer to nature and help us protect the nature that's surrounding us. So in terms of environmental responsibility, there was also this kind of fractured or incoherent understanding about how we should teach it. And that's actually true in most Estonian schools. They don't have the study programs thought out in terms of, how they relate to sustainability in education. So that was the third issue that we addressed. And the fourth one actually came as a bit of a surprise. A lot of people, actually, a lot of young people, they leave this kind of rural area where they grew up in, and they go to bigger cities. But a lot of people outside Lääne-Harju come there as a summer residents. So what we discovered was that people lack this like personal connection with their home. A lot of like people who come there for summer, they don't take part in citizen kind of society activities in order to maintain the nature, to help make the municipality more sustainable. And the youth who leave, they also don't feel that much connection to the place. So we decided those are the things we want to work with, and we figured out two pathways. The first one actually is the more relevant one in this case. Lääne-Harju municipality was also rethinking its education, and we agreed to cooperate. They were creating their education strategy, and we were doing the transition arena. And this actually helped us a lot, because the transition arena in terms of education, or on the topic of education, we were afraid it might fall short, because all of the education is kind of led and organized by the local municipality, and it's hard to do anything without them, any improvements. So this transition arena kind of worked as the grassroots level of change in education, and made it up all the way to the education strategy, where those results and those actions were actually written into a 5-year program for the local municipality to implement. So that was a great win. And the second pathway kind of was more like grassroots cooperation level, kind of implementation of things that the people in the transition arena could agree upon together, help each other, do kind of test out new approaches. And I'm going to talk about the strategy part soon, but first I'll just say that, like, in Lääne-Harju there were these food sharing boxes where people could leave, like restaurants, for example, could leave leftover food and people could come and take it. So the schools saw that as an opportunity. Since they have a lot of leftover food, they started using them. At least one of the schools has already implemented those practices. So these kinds of like small things that grew up of the transition arena were really cool. But I think the ones that made it into the strategy kind of have a better chance to stick around. And I'll just introduce some of those to you. Not all of them. I made these lists quite long, so it would impress you, but I'm not going to go through all of them. I would like to mention the fact that we had Estonian Maritime Academy on board on the transition arena, and the schools and the Estonian Maritime Academy decided that they want to do some sort of study program together. And since Lääne-Harju is a coastal municipality, there are a lot of things that come from the sea, like wind energy, fish, all sorts of stuff. And these things made it to the education through a joint program with the Estonian Maritime Academy. And they're now starting to test this study program, where people from the Maritime Academy come and teach about certain topics when it comes to sea, and things that the local people could do with the sea, for example, wind parks. There is also, as I mentioned, a great synergy between sustainability and health and well-being. And for a lot of people who participated, the idea of health and well-being actually won them over more than the idea of sustainability, because it's their kids, it's their students, and they felt that, we can do something about their health, their mental health and stuff like that. So we found that there are some like key ideas that we could do. First is the learning spaces that make them more accessible. And for more students to enjoy them, and also the outdoor learning opportunities. For example, getting to school and back with a bike, having safe bike lanes, and that will also kind of save on help the environment, because there is less car traffic in the area. And health and well-being also kind of encompasses mental health, and this actually, it's a bit of a stretch, but as I mentioned, a lot of young people leave Lääne-Harju municipality. They don't feel like really integrated into the community, so they go to study in Tallinn, for example, then they find a job there and so on. So we guessed, and this is a hypothesis, that if we kind of get them more into the local kind of society, integrate them better, then they might stick around. They might take responsibility for the place, and they might kind of actively participate in whatever way they can. So we started also working on mentorship for them. And this is where the schools came together and decided that they want to rethink the class teacher kind of role, and make the class teacher as a mentor who can guide the students, even kind of outside curriculum, towards their hobbies, towards participating in the local kind of, not politics, but, the local kind of society, thinking about stuff, what's going on around them. Yeah. And that's what Lääne-Harju is currently working on really actively. And for last, healthy reading, those things also made it to the education strategy. So I really hope they will implement all of them. But if they don't, and they only implement some of them, that's also good, because they just got a lot of stuff, and the strategy is already agreed, and kind of the municipality council has put their stamp on it. So I think they have no way to turn back now. Anyways, some of our insights. I think we found a good synergy with another process. That's their strategy process. We designed for autonomy. So the local, the group kind of decided that health and well-being is also important. We didn't put our hands up and stop them, but it went well in the end. We tried to include youth also in the process, which made it more real for everybody who participated, because the youth were there. They could, you could look at the crowd and see that there are people, we are talking about them. We're talking about them with them, and that made it more powerful. A slight problem we had, we didn't get all the stakeholders at first, all the change agents at first. There were a lot of people who we added, not a lot, but still relatively a lot of people who we added in the middle of the process. We could have tried to get them sent, from the beginning. And we also started out with a different topic, and that was community energy, and we failed with that one, because actually we didn't know too much about the topic. So we thought it was a great one, but our hands kind of fell short. So unfortunately, we had the opportunity to go with education. And since we also influenced local kind of policy, the group influenced local policy, we were lucky that our group was quite representative. It wasn't just like, environmental organizations, because in that case, it would have been a bit sketchy. So it worked out. But if we hadn't had that kind of representative group, it could have been, not good. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Christo. So let's move to, we are a bit late from with the timetable. So there is so much we want to tell when we are explaining about these transition arenas. But now I give floor to Derk. So if you can give your comments to these and overall, and if anyone in the audience have questions, please put to the chat, or any comments, anything. I don't know how many people there's. Oh, there are over 20 people in the webinar. So Derk.
Yes. Okay, we have 15 minutes left, so let's put comments and questions in the chat, because I try to make a couple of points, and I think it's also quite intense. So we're already in the webinar for like an hour and a half or so, and it's a lot of presentation, a lot of information. So I can imagine a lot of people. So normally the digital etiquette would say do a break in between, or try to make some movement. So I'm going to move a bit, so feel free to also stand up and do something to energize a bit. I'm going to try to project some energy through the screen, and I definitely got a lot of energy from hearing the examples. I think it's wonderful to hear what has been achieved, and to listen to you discovering the logic of social innovation, basically. And I've seen the project in the beginning trying to take a method which is an abstract thing. It's an idea, the transition arena, and we've been working with it for a long time at Drift. And we developed into manuals, and I see the attempt as well in the project to make it into a manual, but much more than a method or an academic idea. The transition arena is a way of doing. It's a logic that is complementary to the formal policy logic. So you could say it's about informality in policy making. And yesterday, a colleague of mine gave his inaugural speech about emotions in public administration. And it made me aware that the transition arena from the start has been all about emotions. It's basically trying to mobilize people that get excited by discovering new things, that feel angry that things are unjust, or that feel motivated to do something about sustainability, that want to pursue their ideals, that have an entrepreneurial nature, that like to meet new things or to learn new things. And these are all very human properties. And at the same time, we are stuck with institutions that are built on rationality and on organizing out our emotions. It needs to be predictable, neutral, manageable, procedural. I don't know all the terms of formality. So we just started with this transition arena, I think in a very similar way as a lot of you are describing. Let's just try and find people that also are motivated, are entrepreneurial, curious, and then let's try to organize a process where we discover together what really matters. And it's great to hear in Christo's example, for where they move from topic to topic. It's an organic process where you try to figure out what's the problem and where do you want to go. And what I hear less in your stories is what we always emphasized in transition arena approaches, which is trying to really have a more fundamental reflection on underlying values and the question why sustainability is not a motivating cause for more people. And this is also because the method originated 25 years ago in a context where sustainability, climate change, biodiversity loss was not an obvious topic to a lot of people. And it was very disconnected from the everyday concerns of people. And I think the problem has only gotten worse. But the positive thing is that because it's gotten worse, it's also gotten much more traction. Meaning ordinary citizens are by and large concerned about climate change and biodiversity loss and sustainability topics in general. And you might refer to it as well-being or health or quality of life, or I don't know, or the backyard. And whether the flowers are still growing, or whether you still can produce food, or but it's all related to sustainability, and it's come close to home in a way, which also means that in research we see that people in general are much more concerned about these kind of persistent problems and willing to support change in the right direction than policymakers. And certainly then our institutions are capable of doing. And what I hear is a lot of stories that are not so much about the transition arena method, but about the logic of informality for transformative change. Sorry for the jargon, but it's basically what professionals should do, right? We try to, in a network society, we are concerned for a public cause. What do we need to do? We need to mobilize social entrepreneurship and social commitment, and try to create space for collaboration and co-creation, and try to envision better futures, and try to figure out how to do it practically and how to make it matter for our children or our neighbors. And the people that are already doing that are often doing that in their free time, and because they are idealistic or because they have some extra money. And the job that we have as professionals, be it as policymakers or researchers, is actually to use our privileges in our formal positions that are essentially about supporting the public cause, to orchestrate these kind of processes. And I think, I mean, there's so much richness in the cases, and I don't want to go into each case, but each case tells something different about shape-shifting and adapting throughout the process, about engaging in conflict. The Bremen case is a lot about the political backlash. We see it on a macro level in society. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. If sort of you start to become really transformative, it means you're threatening the status quo or the dominant logic, which is going to push back. And this dialectic is the dialectic of change. And in other cases, I heard less about this interaction with the dominant logic, and maybe in these places it's already beyond it. But I can also imagine that in the last case, for example, it's still up next, the backlash from the institutions. So I don't want to go in each of the individual cases, but I think the strength of the story of the project is that you show that this logic is the way forward. This is the new practice of science policy collaboration. And so also for the manual, I would say it's presented less as a method and more as a practice. Or and I think that the title of the project, that we make transition, I still think you don't make transition, you don't manage transition, but you do transition. Might be or you are transition, is maybe also an alternative way to frame it. And I think that the fundamental question you also raise, which is also something that we struggle with in transitions research, is how to institutionalize it. Because a clear limitation is that also in your case, the project runs on additional funding. And what I see less of, I heard the cases talk about longevity, so impacts beyond the project or the pilots, concerns about embedding it in the strategy and getting it into a regular practice of the schools or the organizations. That's a direct impact, but the kind of indirect impact I'm thinking of, is it sort of a way of working that can become a normal practice? So what is needed for policymakers and researchers and professionals, maybe in general, to see this just as their main job? Our main job is to find active citizens. Our main job is to organize spaces for co-creation and collaboration. Our main job is to figure out with societal stakeholders and partners to get concrete projects off the ground, which is a social entrepreneurship or an institutional entrepreneurial role that is not often rewarded or supported institutionally. And I think that's sort of I think a message that you also need to bring from the project to the funder, but maybe also to the outside world, and also maybe embed in the manual. I think that maybe the last point I wrote down to say is that in the time the project ran, a lot of things happened. And what I heard less about is how you've played into that kind of change in context. And there's a couple of things to mention. Sustainability has become demoted, you could say, pushed down on the priority agenda because of geopolitics and wars and conflicts and resource issues. And I don't know. There have been political shifts in different countries. Economic changes, and so I think maybe it's also an answer that on the local scale it doesn't matter. It's about improving our living environments, and just it's also a survival strategy in a way to disconnect a bit from the bigger sort of chaos that is on the world stage. And just focus on strengthening the commons at the local level. But I think it's also something that we need to sort of then take up and say, okay, this is this project and the experiences provide clues, maybe also for a I wanted to say survival strategy, but a self-organization or social innovation strategy at the European level, where social innovation is still pretty much technology or centrally coordinated in a way. And you present the story of transformative social innovation and how to work with it. That I think a lot of people should take note of. Yeah, 3 minutes left for questions.
Yes. Thank you, Derk. Very nice words. And just to because there are so many things to explain about this, how much influence these transition arenas have made. I'm quite sure, because there are already some new project initiatives came out, and new funding is applied to some bigger things that wouldn't have been created in such a way without the transition arena. So there is a lot of I think longer term impact from these processes, because I think that
I think that this also confirms our experience. So this is, I mean, engaging people in these kind of processes, and how you exactly organize it is maybe not even that important. It's the energy and the approach and the kind of thinking and the mission drive underlying it. Those are the important things, because then you create settings where people can start to build trust and see perspective and feel empowered to actually take up initiative themselves. And all of those things were coming back in the stories. So that already creates a sustainable effect. But what I mainly wanted to raise is to create these kind of interventions and ripple effects requires additional funding or an external forcing, and is not yet common practice. And yes, I also see it as a political thing, because I think institutions are designed for stability and actually work against these kind of unleashing processes.
But then what is positive to see is that when it's made quite easy, so not, quite easy just to be involved and realize that this is something value added, then also the local authorities and even the decision makers and so on, they saw that they also thought that we need this kind of things more. Yeah. So I think it also
so I would be most happy if in the cities, the policymakers now have in the new local government an alderman for transition arenas, or whatever name they want to call it, for innovative citizen participation with a substantial budget and a mandate for these processes. So that's the kind of commitment, because obviously in those processes, if there's success, they will claim it and they will say, oh, it's great, we need more of this. But then civil servant, get your subsidy from Europe and you have to get it yourself, write the proposal in your free time to get some funding, and then you can do it as an add-on. And I don't want to end up cynical, but I want to bring it more as a call to arms to all of us, that if you really feel strongly that this is the way forward, then we should also think about telling the story in a way that it might lead to institutional change, whether in our cities or through funding structures or whatever.
Yes, that's a good point. Martin, do you want to say something in the end before we end this webinar? And if you have anything, please put to the chat still.
Well, anything I have to say is kind of depressive, I think, as well. Depressing. No, I mean, I'm thinking about this larger political change around us. Like when we began, I think
you were reminded about that.
The general logic here is that the underlying systems don't want change. But when we began with this project, and in the previous world, at least the things that were said out loud were positive. Like we want the change, but realistically we don't make the change. But now we are in a world where even publicly they say loudly that maybe we don't need this change at all. And well, then I think the view of what these kinds of projects do, it changes when we can be attacked publicly for wanting a change at all. And I feel a little bit of this in Tartu, for example, where we dealt with a circular economy. But when we started, it was a positive thing that we were trying to do. And now the politicians, some of them at least, have reached a place where they're saying that maybe we don't need all these things. Maybe it doesn't matter. We have, war is coming. Why do we deal with this?
But exactly this. I mean, I think it's we also see it as a dynamic. Watch your back. Yeah, these dynamic in transitions is like that. So there's idealists that want system change. So this is where it starts, and then they're going to create niches and storylines. Like we need a system change, and then the regime or regime actors become a bit aware of it, and if it grows bigger, then they become scared and they push back and they use crises to divert and to dismiss. But then it shape shifts, and this is where we were the last 10 years also with Drift, that we then use this momentum to actually engage with power structures and to advocate for phase out and to problematize. And we are now in a phase, and the colleagues just made this small booklet about transition ateliers, which is more about like the next phase we try to make, which is like trying to see it more as an octopus. But it's about going back to practices, saying it's not we want system change, but the change is already happening and it's very tangible, and people want this because look at it, they're adopting it. There's people actually changing their diet, and they like plant-based diets. They actually like to work together to restore biodiversity. They actually like to basically take ownership of their local economy and environment. And that is, I think, where we need to go. And we're trying to engage design and art and other types of sciences and professions to make visible what's already there. And maybe that's also next phase in some of the case context that you're in, that it's, know what kind of system change you want and what the desired practices are. How do you make that visible to a wider audience? and engage them, because then the policymakers also start to see, well, there is actually support. And it's still going to be political, but I am quite optimistic, and listening to all the stories, I get even more encouraged.
Okay, well, it's good to end in these words that we got Derk.
And
more energy to you.
Yes, I'm going to share. I just got this booklet on my desk, but here's the link to the digital version. Some inspiration for the follow-up We Make Transition Project 2.0.
Yes. Yes, so we stay in contact.
Thanks all.
Yes, we will have our final seminar in Tampere in November of this project, but let's be in contact.